Hi everyone, I'm Gary Fisk, Professor of Psychology at Georgia Southwestern State University. This is the second video in my series of videos about using PSPP software. We're going to focus in this video on creating the variables in the variable view. We'll set up a data file so we can begin our statistics. I also want to mention before I get started that I have a website. If you search for Gary Fisk PSPP, it'll bring up my tutorial pages. You can look at those pages some more to see lots of screenshots. It'll walk you through a number of different functions and things. This is meant to be a kind of add-on to that website. All right, so let's begin by looking at our window here and go at, and what we're going to do in this video is set it up so we can enter data. But before we do that, we're going to have to switch over to something called the variable view. If you look at the very bottom here, you can see these little tabs on the bottom. We can switch between a data view and a variable view in the data editor. The default is it opens up with the variable view. And that should give you a hint about what it's trying to do. It's suggesting that you need to enter variables before you do anything else with the software. You got to set up your variables before you enter your data. So let's begin by doing that. I'm going to click on the variable view tab here. What I'm going to do for this demonstration is just set up a simple grade book. It's a very simple demonstration of what we can do with this software. Now you can see it starts on the left over here with this name field. To create a variable, we have to type in a name of a variable, and mine will be called last name. That will be my first field in my database or my data. This is where the student's last name is going to go. Now, before we go any further, I want to just point out a few things. When I entered that name and clicked enter, notice it filled out the entire row of fields here. We'll look at some of those in a moment and fine-tune those a little bit more. Okay, so also notice that I didn't put a space between last and name. The name variable has to be all one string. It's an old-timey computer word to call it a string. It can't handle spaces or special characters or anything like that. It has to be one continuous name. All right, so I'll put in a few others here. First name. We'll put in sex, exam 1, and exam 2. Okay, so I've got 5 variables now. We could just go ahead and start entering numbers, but it would really be better to configure these properly to show people what it's about. And also it's good for your future reference. If you want to ever look back on a data file and see how was it set up, how was it configured, looking at it in these, documenting some of these features here is going to be very helpful. So it's worthwhile to take the time, do it right, set these variables up right, and it'll make everything so much easier. It'll make it easier to understand and use in the future. All right, so let's walk through some of the features here. I typed in my name here to give these variables names. The next one over is type is what it's called. Notice the default is numeric. That means you're entering numbers. That's mostly what you're going to be doing in a data file. But let's click on this. If we click, we can set up a number of different possibilities for how the data are going to be entered. For the name field, we're going to be entering letters like A, B, C, D. So we need strings is what they're called. We'll put the string in there. We can also set the width of it. How big is it going to be? Let's say that maybe some people have long last names, so we're going to give it quite a bit of space here. We'll make it, 20 characters. Whoops. What am I doing here? Okay, well, we can just click up here, 20 characters. Okay, so I'll click OK there. Notice now it's a string with a width of 20. I'll make this one a string too, and we'll give that a few more characters there. Okay, very good. These others are numbers here. Notice we can set how big the number is going to be. We can set how many decimal places we want to show. For this one, I'm just going to set it to 0. We don't need any decimal spaces. whoops, my number thing isn't on there. There we go. Okay, so so you can see that there. So you can set up all the configuration here. Let's look at one more thing here. There's a bunch of others you can choose from. You can choose scientific notation, dates, currencies, and so on for whatever your purpose might be. Okay, let's move over a little bit to the right. Here's another field called label. Let's make that a little bit bigger by grabbing that and dragging it over. In the label field, we can get more details about our variables. And I think this is very important to do. It's important to document exactly what's going on with this variable. Now we're using a very simple example here, so maybe it wouldn't be necessary. But if you're doing a large project, a survey, you've got maybe 50 questions and so on, it's worthwhile to take the time to explain what each one of these is going to be. So I'll type in my information here, student last name, student first name, and so on. If we take the time to explain it here, it's going to be so much easier. We'll be able to open this data file at a later point in time, look at it, and see exactly what it represented. It's also very helpful if you're sharing data files with other people. Those other people may not understand how you named your variables. So if you document it, what it is here and explain it, that will be very helpful to them. So this is the sex coded as, let's say, male, female, and non-binary. Okay, we'll have exam 1 score here and exam 2 score, something like that. Okay, so we've got those entered here. Let's look at one other thing that's valuable here. There's the one next door to it is called value labels. We probably won't use this a whole lot, but what it's really useful for are situations where you've got groups and the groups are coded by numbers. In other words, the numbers are representing the groups. I'm going to use that for my sex variable here. When I'm entering the data, I could type in male, female, male, non-binary, or whatever over and over again, but that'd be very tedious. So here's a quick, more efficient way to do that. What I'm going to do for the sex variable is I'm going to have different codes that represent people. This is sometimes called dummy coding. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to click it here and click on that. So every time I type a 1, it represents a value label of male. Okay, and I'll click add. Every time I click 2, it's going to have a value label of female. And I'll click add. And then every time I click or enter 3, it's going to have a value label of non-binary. Okay, and I'll click add. All right. So this is going to speed up my data entry quite a bit. When I'm entering data, I can enter a 1, 2, or 3 instead of typing out all those names. So that'll make it much more efficient. It's also nice to set it up this way so when you're choosing variables, the choices are a little easier. It'll give you these value labels, and it'll be a little nicer to use. We've got some other fields here. Missing values are for, how's the program going to handle missing information, empty cells. You can set up some formatting things here, like how wide your columns are, the alignment. I'll make my my string columns a little bit bigger here. I'll set them up to be, 20 characters or something like that. That'd be good. These are all optional things, so I don't know how important it is. One last thing I want to show is the measure variable here. You can put in measures or statistical scale values like nominal, interval, and ratio here. There's a little drop-down menu. For example, our sex variable is going to be a nominal scale code. Nominal is for categories, and so sex would be a kind of category. For exam 1 here, we'll put in scale for that. Scales are usually like defined units. They have like inches, centimeters, grams, pounds, things like that are scales. The ordinal ones, those are rankings. I don't have an ordinal example for mine today, so I'm just going to stick with scales. And then finally, this last one here is the input. There's different ways to do things. That's getting beyond a sort of beginner function, so I'm just going to skip that one. Okay, all right, so we've saved our, so we've created our variables for our basic little grade book. I'm going to end this by just saving it here. If we click here or go to save or Control S, we can select save from the file menu, and we can just give it a name. I'll put it on my desktop here and give it the name grade book. Okay, and I'll end it with .sav extension. That's the file extension that's used for SPSS and PSPP data files. So I'm just going to click the save button in the lower right here, and it'll save the file, and then I'll be able to open that again. I recommend saving files often in PSPP. Once in a while things go wrong and the program crashes. If you have that happen to you, you'll be glad that you saved your data and didn't lose any work. Okay, so that's it for the variable view of the data editor. I'm going to switch over now to the data view and start entering some data. You'll see that it looks nice now. It's got plenty of space for our features here. Oops, I'm going to make this one 22 here. Keep it consistent there. Okay, so being a little stubborn, are we? There we go. Okay, so if I switch over here, you can see my data view. Notice how we've got nice variable names here, so much nicer than Microsoft Excel with A, B, and C with those column headings. It'll help us keep track of everything. Okay, so that concludes our variable view lesson. The next lesson is going to be about the data view. We'll enter a little bit of basic data. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.